I still remember the exact moment the letter arrived. It was a cloudy Tuesday morning in late October, one of those gray, windless days where time felt paused and the air hung thick with something unspoken. I had just poured myself a stale cup of coffee in my one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. When the envelope caught my eye, it was thick, old-fashioned, cream-colored parchment with my full name written in a shaky, almost childlike script. Emily Thatcher. No return address, no stamp, just ... that. There, I almost didn't open it. Something about it felt wrong, like it had been touched by too many hands or soaked in someone else's memories. But curiosity has always been my worst trait. Inside was a single page. Emily, your Aunt Meredith is gone. The house at Mira Hill is yours now. Come alone. Don't tell anyone. You'll understand why soon, Em. I didn't have an Aunt Meredith, at least not one I remembered, but Mira Hill. A half-buried childhood memory. A shadowy house, dark woods, a bitter smell I couldn't place, and a woman's voice whispering my name while I slept. Against better judgment, I went. Mira Hill wasn't on any map. I had to use the coordinates. Scribbled on the back of the letter to find it, somewhere in upstate New York, far beyond phone signals and paved roads. The drive took 6 hours, but time began to feel different after the third, like I was driving in circles. When I finally saw the house, something inside me went still. It wasn't abandoned. Not exactly. The two-story structure sat at the edge of a dense forest, paint peeled in strips from its wooden siding. Every window was shut, curtains drawn tight, like the house was holding its breath. The trees around it grew strangely, bent inward, like they were trying to keep the house contained, or protect the world from it. I parked my car on the gravel driveway. The air felt heavier here, like it carried weight. It smelled faintly of wet iron and old books. There was no one around, not even birds. The front door was unlocked. Inside, it was cold, the kind of cold that seeps beneath your skin and settles in your bones. The interior was old, but oddly preserved. No dust, no cobwebs. Everything in its place. Family portraits lined the hallway, faces with blurred expressions. Some eyes scratched out in the living room. A fireplace sat unused, but candles were lit. Freshly, someone had been here. Maybe still was. Then something strange. A mirror. Large, framed in black wood, with intricate carvings of leaves, thorns, and what looked like snakes. It stood against the far wall, but what made me stop was that my reflection wasn't moving. I stared at it, heart thudding, and watched as my mirror self smiled. Before I did, I stepped back instantly. My breath caught. It didn't happen again. The reflection was normal now, still watching me. Upstairs, I found the master bedroom. On the bed sat a small wooden box, like a jewelry case. Inside it, a faded photo of a woman who looked eerily like me, a small handwritten note that simply read, "Remember the dream? The dream?" I had that dream for years as a child. It's always the same. I'm standing at the edge of a forest. There's a house. With no doors, only windows. Someone screaming from inside. A girl with long black hair. She reaches out for me from the glass, but I never help. I just stand there, frozen. Watching her vanish into black smoke, I hadn't had that dream in over 15 years, until last night. In this time, when she turned around, she had my face. I woke up at 2:33, the M2 scratching, soft, slow, coming from inside the walls. At first I thought it was mice, but it was too rhythmic, like fingernails. 5 scratches. Pause. 5 more. Followed the sound to the hallway mirror. My reflection was waiting for me, only this time, I wasn't alone. Behind me, in the reflection, barely visible, was a tall shadow. Thin, crooked, head tilted too far to the side like its neck. Had been snapped, I spun around. Nothing but when I turned back. The reflection was smiling. Asterisk, I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the mirror in the hallway, too afraid to close the door, too afraid to leave it open. My reflection stayed still as stone. Till 3:06 a.m., that's when she moved. She blinked, just once, slow, deliberate, while I hadn't. My skin went cold, throat dry. I whispered aloud to no one, "What do you want?" But the mirror didn't answer. Instead, my reflection smiled again. But it wasn't my smile, it was hers. The girl from my dream, the girl with my face. I slammed the bedroom door. In the morning, the house felt different, like it was watching me now, like every floorboard waited for my next step. Even the sunlight that peeked through the old curtains looked strained, like it didn't want to be there. I decided to explore. Downstairs, I found a narrow hallway hidden behind a false panel in the kitchen. The wood smelled damp like mildew and rot. At the end was a door made of rusted iron with carvings matching the mirror frame. It was locked, but not with a key. It had a slot for something, a symbol maybe, triangular. I marked it in my notebook. On the way back, I passed. The mirror again, only this time, my reflection had a bruise under her left eye. I touched my face. Nothing there, but in the mirror. The bruise darkened, spread. She mouthed something. Don't trust the voice. There was a voice later that day. It came from the room. I hadn't dared enter yet. The attic. When I opened the door, the staircase smelled like burnt paper. Ash clung to the rail. But what chilled me most was the sound. Soft, melodic humming, like a lullaby, sung off key. I climbed anyway. The attic was filled with old furniture covered in white sheets. Dozens of them draped like corpses. And dolls. Porcelain dolls. Hundreds. On shelves, inside trunks, hanging by strings from the beams. All watching me. Then I heard it. A soft whisper behind me. It wasn't humming anymore. It said my name. Twice. Double quotes. Emily. I spun around. No one there. But one of the doll's eyes was leaking black liquid. Just one, like a tear. The others were smiling. Then it crashed downstairs. I rushed down, his heart pounding, to find the front door wide open. Outside stood a woman, pale, wearing a white coat. She didn't come any closer, just raised her hand and waved, slow, deliberate, something. About her face was familiar. I took a step forward. Then she turned and vanished behind the trees. I followed. Against every scream inside me, I followed. The woods were silent. Each tree looked the same, like they had copied each other. I walked for what felt like 20 minutes before I saw her again, standing near. A large stone well in a clearing. She looked over her shoulder. Her eyes were entirely black. She spoke without moving her mouth. You let her in? I blinked, and she was gone. But behind me, I heard footsteps running, not toward me. Away, I turned and caught the briefest glimpse of someone disappearing into the trees. A girl, long black hair. Torn dress, it was her. I ran after her until I couldn't. Breathe, until I was lost. The woods grew darker, though the sun was still up. I finally stopped, panting, and found myself at the edge of a dried-up creek bed. Something shiny caught my eye beneath a pile of leaves. A locket inside was a photo of me, maybe 8 years old, standing beside a woman with dark hair. On the back, a message etched in tiny handwriting. She never left. You just forgot. Then a scream, loud, height, echoed through the trees. I ran back to the house. Somehow found my way, slammed the door and locked it, only to see every mirror in the house had cracked, except one. The one in the hallway, and from inside it. I heard someone breathing. Asterisk that night, I couldn't sleep. I didn't even try. I sat in the corner of the bedroom with the lamp on in the hallway. Door closed. Still, I could hear it. Breathing heavy, steady breathing. Coming from behind the mirror, it wasn't mine. I tested it, held my breath. The sound kept going, and then stopped. I crept toward the hallway, heart racing, and cracked. Opened the door just enough to peek at the mirror. She was there, standing in my reflection, not me. Her same face, same clothes, but her head was tilted, and her hands were pressed flat against the glass, as if she wanted out. And then, for the first time, she spoke, but not aloud. She mouthed two words, slow, clear, "Help me." The next morning, I searched every corner of the house for answers. There had to be something, a diary, a record, anything. I found it in the basement. Buried beneath a stack of moldy books in an old trunk was a journal, its leather cover marked with the initials MT. Inside were entries dating back to 1962. The handwriting was jagged, frantic. The last few pages were the most disturbing. "She's taken my daughter's voice. The mirror speaks now, not her. It lies. It shows her things that never happened. The girl who looks like her isn't her? Not anymore." I broke the small mirrors, but the big one, it watches me. Tonight I seal the door. I pray it stays closed this time. My stomach turned. The door, the iron one in the hidden hallway. That afternoon, the lights began flickering again. Shadows moved faster than they should have. I avoided mirrors, but one found me. The bathroom mirror was fogged over. Even though I hadn't used the sink or shower, as I wiped it clean, I saw something. Behind me in the reflection only, a woman, pale, soaking wet, standing right behind me. Her eyes were completely white. Her mouth opened far too wide. I turned. Quickly, no one there, but the mirror shattered with a deafening crack, slicing a thin line across my cheek. I backed out of the room, shaking. The hallway lights flickered again, then went out completely. From the shadows at the end of the corridor, I heard a child's giggle, high-pitched, echoing. That's when I saw it. A figure crawling along the wall, like an insect. A girl, upside down, bent at impossible angles, moving toward me. Her face was mine. I ran until I hit the staircase and fell hard. My ankle twisted, pain shot up my leg. But I kept going, dragging myself into the living room where I'd left the journal. It was gone, in its place. The locket, it was open now. The photo inside had changed. It was still me as a child. But this time, I was crying blood. I didn't know what was real anymore. Was I seeing things? Dreaming? I needed air. I hobbled to the front door, but it wouldn't open. The knob turned. The lock slid, but the door stayed shut, like it had been nailed from the outside. I looked through the peephole. Outside, the same. Pale woman from the woods stood in the driveway, but now she was smiling, and behind her stood at least a dozen others, all staring at the house. None of them blinked. None of them moved. Just watched. I blacked out. I must have. When I came to, it was night again. The mirrors in the hallway were covered now, not by me, by someone else. White. Sheets, just like in the attic, but they were moving, rising and falling, breathing. One of them whispered, "She's not in the mirror anymore." That's when the footsteps started upstairs, heavy, slow, coming down one step at a time. Then they stopped. Right outside my door, I held my breath, silence. Then 3 loud knocks. Bang, bang, asterisk, bang, bang. I froze. The 3 knocks echoed through the room, like hammer blows to my chest. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, couldn't blink. Then a voice, soft and childlike, came from behind the door. "Emily, open up. It's safe now. No one knew my name. Not here. Not in this place." I stayed still. Then the doorknob turned, slowly, and then stopped. Silence again, when I finally dared to pull myself off the floor and look through the keyhole. Nothing, just the dark hallway beyond. But something had changed. I could feel it. I turned on every light I could find. But half the bulbs had already gone out. The entire house smelled different now, like rotting flowers and damp earth. The kind of scent you smell in a graveyard after rain. I found myself staring at the covered mirrors, wondering what would happen if I looked again. Would I still see her? Would I see me? I pulled the sheet off the hallway mirror, and for a moment, just a moment, it was normal. My reflection, pale, tired, but mine until she blinked. I hadn't blinked. She smiled, just a twitch of the lips, and then reached up and put her hand on the inside of the mirror. I reached toward it too, and as our fingertips met the glass, it rippled like water. Then the mirror cracked, starting from the point where her hand was, splitting downward like a vein. The lights went out in the darkness. I heard whispers. They came from all directions, soft at first, then louder, then urgent. "Emily, let us out. You belong here. Your mother knew. She left you." That last one made me stop my mother. The voice continued. She was here. She tried to run. She failed. Suddenly I remembered the old photograph in the attic, the one that looked like me. Maybe it was me, or maybe it was her. I grabbed the flashlight and hobbled back to the attic, forcing myself up the stairs despite the pain. The air was thicker now, harder to breathe. Upstairs, the temperature dropped. I could see my breath. The attic door was wide open. Inside, all the mirrors were uncovered, and in every single one, she stood watching me, every reflection showing a different version of her. One with bleeding eyes, one screaming silently, one holding a knife, one looking exactly like me, one not human at all. I backed away, turned around, and someone was there. A woman, soaked hair covering her face, standing just inches from me. She whispered, "You were born here." I ran, fell halfway down the attic stairs, hit the floor and didn't stop. My hands were shaking, my ankle was nearly useless, but I made it to the hidden hallway, the iron door. I opened it. Inside was a small stone room, more like a cell, covered in scratch marks, chains on the walls, old children's drawings, some in crayon, others smeared in something darker. In the corner, a box inside it. A dusty birth certificate, Emily Thatcher, born Mirror Hill Asylum. Mother, Margaret. Thatcher. My head spun. The asylum. Mirror Hill. It was this house. I was born here. Suddenly the walls began pounding, as if fists were slamming from the other side. I backed out, but as I turned she was there, the mirror woman. The other me, standing in the hallway, staring. Her eyes were empty. Her mouth opened slowly, painfully, and from deep within her came the scream of a child, high-pitched, echoing down the hallway like it was inside my skull. I dropped the flashlight when I picked it back up. She was gone, but now the mirrors were full, every one of them, with people trapped inside, screaming, clawing, begging. They had once lived here, or been pulled in. I was next. The front door was still sealed. The windows were black, but I could see shadows outside, pressing their faces against the glass. Dozens, maybe more. Then something whispered in my ear, "You can leave, but someone must stay." I turned. She was standing in the fireplace mirror, waiting, smiling. She wanted out, and all I had to do was let her take my place. Asterisk, the mirror in the fireplace shimmered like black mercury. She, the other me, stood inside it. Her hands pressed against the glass, grinning like a predator who had just been promised a way out. "You can leave, but someone must stay." I stared into her eyes, and for the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt recognition. She wasn't some ghost. She was me.
Hi.
The part I'd buried. The trauma I'd forgotten. The truth my mother had tried to burn away. I stumbled backward as the house groaned around me. The floorboards bent under my feet like they were breathing or writhing. Every mirror in the house came alive, shaking, cracking, glowing from within. I ran through the hall, down the stairs, back to the cell behind the hidden door. The birth certificate lay in my hands, shaking. Margaret Thatcher. My mother, Emily Thatcher. Born at Mirror Hill Asylum. There was another document folded beneath it, yellowed and stained. It was a patient record. Patient name, Margaret Thatcher. Diagnosis, postpartum, psychosis note. Subject claims her daughter has a double and believes mirrors are gateways. Exhibits delusions of being followed. History of aggression. My blood ran cold. My mother wasn't crazy. She was right. She had tried to protect me back upstairs. The mirror showed every version of my past, moments I didn't remember or didn't want to. A child, hiding under the bed while her mother screamed. A teenage girl standing in a hospital hallway, watching nurses restrain a weeping woman, her mother, as she was dragged away. And one image of me, maybe 5 years old, talking to a mirror, but there was no reflection, only her. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the woods. The watchers, they had no eyes, no mouths, just blank, pale faces peering in from the trees. Pressing against the glass like children longing for warmth. They wanted in the house. Wanted a soul? I could feel her pulling at me now. The mirror, Emily. She whispered in my head. Trade places, just for a moment. You'll never feel pain again. Step toward. The mirror closed. She mimicked me perfectly, breathing in sync. Eyes locked. I lifted my hand. So did she. Our fingers met the surface, cold, wet, sticky. Suddenly, I felt my body go rigid. I couldn't move. She was sinking out of the mirror. Her hands reached through, grabbing my wrists, her mouth opened wide. Wider than humanly possible. I screamed. Then, I remembered something. The fireplace poker. I reached for it. Struggling, as her strength began pulling me toward the glass, I swung it hard, shattering the side of the mirror. It cracked, loud like a gunshot. She howled, a wail that shook the whole house. Crack by crack, the glass fell away, slicing into my arm. But I didn't stop. I smashed every mirror I could find. The attic, the hall, the bedrooms. One by one, the trapped souls inside the glass began to vanish, like dust in the wind, fading free. And she, the mirror version of me, screamed louder, her image flickering like a dying flame. You can't leave, she shrieked, but I was already running. At the front door, something had changed. The chain lock hung broken, the wood split down the center like something had burst through, or maybe out. I pushed it open, and for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I stepped into the cold, real air of the forest. It was dawn. I didn't look back. I walked and walked, till I collapsed on the side of a back road, where a passing truck found me hours later, 2 weeks later. The house at Mirror Hill burned down, that's what the news said. No one knew how, no one claimed to own it, and no records of it existing were ever found. Except, I still had the birth certificate, and sometimes in the corner of a mirror when I pass, I see her, just for a flickered, smiling, waiting, because now I know. The house doesn't haunt you, it follows you. And mirrors are never just mirrors.